Hi everyone, and welcome back to Wander Freely. Today we wanted to talk about our land decision in the whole home building process. And there were some key questions that we had to ask ourselves before we actually decided on a piece of land. The first one was the location in the area that we wanted to live in. And since we've traveled, there have been a lot of areas that we would love to live in all across the United States, trust me. But what it really came down to for us was that we wanted to be close to our families. I have two sisters, Chris has one sister, and we also have our parents. They're all in Pennsylvania, kind of in central, for the most part, central Pennsylvania. And so we knew that ultimately we wanted to be close to our family. So when it came time to decide where do we want to set down roots, family was a big deciding factor for us. In addition to that, we also had to consider Chris's business. Since he is self-employed, most of his clients are also from the central Pennsylvania area, so it just made sense to us to make sure that we were doing our best for his clients as well. So those were our two deciding factors, how we ended up looking in central Pennsylvania, the area that we chose. So that was the first question that we think that you should ask yourself is, what area do you really want to be in? But think of it in long term and not just, well, this is my favorite area, but things that make sense for you, whether it's business-wise, family-wise, or other factors that are important to you. Evaluate those and decide what's the best area for your situation. One of the next biggest factors for us that is kind of a little more specific to us as full-time RVers, we are looking to transition into part-time RVing. So we want to build a home and have a home base, but at the same time be able to travel as well. So we were really looking for an area that was safe, because we're going to be leaving our home potentially for a couple months at a time. And so we wanted to make sure that we were in a safe area. And for us, what ended up working out very, very well was actually we decided to be in the country a little bit, and then not too far from a town, but also somewhat in the country. And then our area also has a lot of Amish farms in it. And so obviously Amish and Mennonite farms. And so we consider that a very, very safe area, but also because they are working on their farms, they're home a lot. So they're in our area, it's not empty. There are people out all the time. There are people keeping an eye on things. And so we really like that as well. Next in our considerations was thinking about what we actually wanted to have locally to us, what we wanted to have within, maybe say like a 20-minute radius from our home. That would be anything, obviously if you have children, if you plan to send them to public school, you'd be looking into those types of things, but also grocery stores, just general things to do, restaurants, anything like that. We like to have a decent restaurant within like 20 minutes of us. We also like to make sure that there's plenty of opportunities for getting out into nature. And what ended up happening was we found a place, and we weren't even looking for this necessarily, but then once we found a piece of land near it, we were like, wow, this is like perfect for us. But it's near like a preserve, so there's a lot of hiking trails and a big lake there, and that's only, that's like maybe a mile from the land that we ended up purchasing. And like I said, it wasn't really high on our list. We weren't really thinking about it, but then once we started to look at the land in the area, we realized, oh, that's perfect for us, because that's what we want to be doing anyway. So if you evaluate some of the things that you like to do and then make sure that they're within that, whatever comfortable driving distance it is for you. I recognize, for us, we don't mind if things are a half hour to 45 minutes away. We're just used to traveling a lot anymore, so that's not a big deal to us. But if you want something that's within 10 minutes, make sure you stay closer to a town. We also have a hospital that's maybe about probably just over 15 minutes from us, so that's really nice to have as well. And even just looking long term, and you never know, what you may or may not need in the future. So taking a look at the local area and making sure that the things that are important to you are in that area, because once you build your home, you're not going to want to move it. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that you evaluate those things before you purchase your land. So once we were narrowing down the area, then it was time for us to look specifically at the parcel of land itself that we were looking for. And the biggest thing for us with being able to travel was that we wanted a yard, some property that had very minimal maintenance. That's like the name of the game for us. And we used to, before we started RVing, we had a 10-acre lot, and a lot of it was wooded. But man, it was so much work. Even being wooded, it was just so much work. We had if there was I remember one time there was a big storm, and we had a tree actually come down across the driveway, so Chris was out there with the chainsaw. It was a massive tree too. So yeah, we don't want to be doing any of that anymore, period, but we also don't want to be worried about it if we're traveling. So we really wanted a piece of land, and obviously this will depend on what part of the country you're in, but in Pennsylvania, you know, where we are, a lot of it's wooded still, and so we did not want a piece of property where we were going to have to clear a lot of woods, because that adds a lot to the site expense. But we also didn't want a property where we were leaving a lot of woods either, because it just adds to your maintenance. And like I said, you don't want to be worried about if you know, you're in Alabama or something, and in Pennsylvania they're getting terrible storms. You know, then you're going to be concerned about those trees around your home, around your property, what's going on there. Also, even just the lighter maintenance, like things that are in your gutter. You know, if you have we've had a lot of trees near our homes before, and it's a lot of work, you know, keeping your gutters maintained, all of that stuff. You just never know, even just a branch falling on your roof. We didn't want any of that. So we definitely wanted to find a piece of property that was already cleared. And that's what we ended up doing. We found, it's an 1.25 acres. And we actually, Chris really wanted under an acre. He was hoping for that in terms of maintenance. He felt like that was, you know, an easier, I guess, more manageable in his mind. But the truth is, you know, to some extent you have to go with what's on the market. And it's very hard in the country to find lots that are, you know, around an acre. Plus you're going to pay a little bit more for them. You know, like if you end up with that like 3 to 5 acre, you actually get a better price per acre. But we did not want 3 to 5 acres, so we settled on one that was an 1.25 acres, and it has trees along the front part of the property, and then just a couple of trees along the back end of the property, and the rest of it is cleared. And it was actually, we bought it from an Amishman, and he had actually been just kind of, he didn't build anything on it, he was just using it for hay every year. He was haying it probably, I guess, twice a year. They usually do that. So it was just pasture, basically, which was perfect for us because that makes it super easy to build on. And then also, like I said, for us in terms of maintenance, then what we're going to do is be building on the front portion of the lot, and then the back portion, we're not even going to mow that. We're just going to leave that as pasture. And then down the road, if I want some animals or things, you know, if we do settle down, I don't know, that's going to be hard. I'd love to have some animals, but I also don't want to settle down too much, you know, I'm going to be able to travel, so we'll see. But in the future, if we want that option, then we have it. So those were our considerations as we were looking for land, and it was quite the process, let me just tell you. It was, you know, we thought looking for homes was hard. Looking for land, it may just be harder depending on what the type of area that you are in. And then obviously your last factor here is just the price of it, because you do want to make sure that you're getting something comparable, but you'll be able to tell because you'll be able to look at all the lots on the market and, you know, see what's kind of normal or what's not. We did not use a real estate agent. What ended up working out for us was a friend had actually, who knew that we were looking for a piece of land potentially, had passed a sign with a phone number, and it was actually at a different property. We called the number, and it took us forever to get in touch with him because he's Amish, so it just took a while to connect with him on the phone. And the lot that was listed under that number was actually already under contract, and it had a house on it, which we did not want. We didn't realize from where the sign was. And so he said, Chris said, well, yeah, actually, you know, I'm just looking for a piece of property about 1/4 acre. And he's like, well, actually, I have another lot that's a 1.25 acres. And did I say 1/4 acre? He said he was looking for an acre. Sorry about that. And then, so Chris said, yeah, I'm looking for one that's around an acre. And he said, I have one that's an 1.25 acres if you want to check it out. So our friend then went out and took a bunch of pictures for us because we were not around here. We were, actually we were in Alabama at the time. Yeah. And he took a bunch of pictures and sent it to us. And just from the pictures, we knew that that was kind of what we were looking for. And so even long distance, you can kind of shop for land, or at least, you know, if you figure out your priorities and what you're actually looking for in terms of location and the parcel itself, then you can really narrow it down. And so that really ended up working out for us. Then by seeing the pictures, it made us realize, okay, yes, this actually is a serious contender for us. And then when we came back up to Pennsylvania, we checked it out, and that's how we ended up purchasing our land. But it was really a key to have all to have figured out together what our desirable qualities were and what we were really looking for, and then be able to evaluate the land on those criteria. Okay, so that's pretty much how we ended up finding our land, what we based it on, and now I want to show you actually what some video of what our land and property actually looks like. Today was the big day, and we actually settled we had closing for our piece of land, so we are actually landowners for the very first time in our lives. We have purchased a piece of land, and now the fun begins. Right. And we actually purchased it from an Amish couple who are just really, you know, very lovely people to be around, and they had their daughter there, and they're very traditional Amish, so they actually speak some version of German / Pennsylvania Dutch mix amongst themselves, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, we had our closing went well. It was super easy, just a matter of getting the check, going in, signing a couple papers. Since we paid in cash, it was way easier than any other closing that we have done.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Right, where you feel like you're signing your entire life away on a mortgage. So yeah, so that's great. Step 1 completed.
Complete.
Chris, how do you feel about owning land?
I feel really excited. I think, you know, now we actually own it. We can start really getting into the permitting, and I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm happy. And it was great to be able to purchase it outright.
Turning on a back road here.
Yeah, I did just miss a turn, which I rarely ever do, so I don't, maybe this whole land purchase thing isn't.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little sidetracked.
We have purchased in our earlier years, how many homes have we purchased? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
We have purchased
3. We've lived in
a bunch. But we have purchased 3 homes previously. And honestly, this was...
Aunt Gladys, she's a home.
Oh yeah, I did not count the RV. But this was our most fun closing. And part of that's obviously because it's just there's not as much money involved, and we were able to pay cash as opposed to having, you know, signing up for your mortgage and getting that started right away. So obviously that is a big relief, but it's just very, very exciting to feel like you have a piece of land, you have nothing but possibilities for the future, and we're usually up for a good challenge, and this is definitely going to be one, so we're looking forward to it. And like I said, I think part of it too was just the couple that we purchased it from, all those kinds of things. They just make the process seem so smooth. We also used we did not use a real estate agent this time. We used an abstract agency, and everything went great there. So saved a little bit of money, got us a piece of land.
Yeah, real simple. And you know, I think what's fun about it too is it's like a blank canvas, the land, you know, and everything that we've been working and putting on paper, and we're just that much closer to really starting to be able to move some dirt and start building, and that is a very exciting thought.
Here's the property that we have purchased to do our build, and what we love about it is it's nice and open. There's a few trees there on the back of the property line and a few up by the road. Behind us is actually a Christmas tree farm, so that's kind of cool. But I love that it's nice and open. Chris, we kind of joke because I loved it when we were traveling through like the plains and the prairie. I just love that. So I kind of joke that Chris bought me a little piece of the prairie here in Pennsylvania. Here's a look towards the front of the property. It is a narrow lot. It is 115 feet wide by about 476 feet long. You can see Chris up there talking to our excavator, already starting to make plans. That is a quick look at our lot, and in our next home video, we will talk about how we took our design for our home and plan to put it on this piece of land. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.